Yeah, there's no doubt about the Frogs football team finishing strong. They won 4 of the last 5. And believe it or not, they've still got a shot at the Big 12 title game. Welcome in, everybody, to the All Horned Frogs podcast, part of the All-City cavalcade of podcasts. We're in downtown Dallas at the DLLS studios for episode 12. More fun stuff to talk about this week. And some there's not even any not so fun stuff, just some speculating, see what's going to happen next week for the early signing period. Anyway, coming up today, TCU senior linebacker, edge rusher, Cooper McDonald from Northwest High School at 3, DLLS GM Ben Robstock at 2:45, and the closer, Jamie Plunkett of 247 Sports at 3:15. But right now, it is time to play catch-up. Don't look now, but the Frogs football team playing really, really well. And they still have an outside shot, like I said, at the Big 12 title game after they routed Arizona 49-28 on Saturday. Savion Williams scored 2 rushing touchdowns. J.P. Richardson caught 6 balls for 106 yards in a score. Eric McAlister, the junior wide receiver, he caught 3 passes for 87 yards, each one a first down as he continues his big play ability this season. Josh Hoover, he continues to rank among the leading passers in the nation. He's now 6th nationally with 3,485 yards. 252 of those came against Arizona. The Frogs raced to a 14-0 lead early on. Arizona came back, touchdown, a couple field goals, and then Savion Williams right before halftime, he scampered 20 yards on a 4th-and-1 play, and the Frogs never looked back. Now, about the Big 12 title game, at 5-3 in league play, the Horned Frogs need a victory this Saturday at Cincinnati, and then a lot of help. They need losses by at least 3 of the 4 6-2 teams: Arizona, BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State. Given the way things have gone this year in the Big 12, I think that's anything's possible, but that seems eminently possible. The Bearcats, they're 5-6 and have lost 4 straight games. Naturally, this week at his midweek news conference, TCU coach TCU coach Sonny Dykes thinks that Cincinnati should be playing for the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, they are for sure. I mean, you look at them. They were 5-2 and had just beat Arizona State, who has turned out to be a good football team. And they hit a tough spot in their schedule. I mean, they've played some really good football teams. Mostly teams at the top of the standings the last couple of weeks. Iowa State, Colorado, Kansas State, all those teams have been really successful, and that's kind of been their schedule here down the stretch for the most part. And so, it's a good team. They're balanced. I think that they don't have a lot of weaknesses. I think some of the teams in the Big 12, you say, well, this team's really good on offense, not as great on defense. This team struggles on defense and not great on offense, or whatever. And so they're to me a solid football team. They're good on offense, kind of built around a physical offensive line and a running back that plays physical and finishes runs. And the quarterback's really played well. I think he gets better all the time. I'm impressed with his physical skills, but he does a nice job managing the game as well. And then, defensively, they're 3 down. Defense that historically has been tough on our offense, and so it'll be a big challenge for us. We're going to have to play physical. I think that's going to be important for us, is to win the line of scrimmage. It always is, but I think even more so this week. And we're going to have to be patient and do a great job of taking care of the ball, which we've talked about a bunch, but that's going to be even more magnified, I think, in this game. So, big challenge.
Brendan Sorsby is the Cincinnati quarterback after transferring in from Indiana. He's a local kid. He went to Lake Dallas High School. He's thrown for 2,653 yards and 18 TDs. But the Bearcats, as Dykes alluded to, very balanced on offense. They have a 1,000-yard rusher in Corey Kiner, and Sorsby has rushed for 352 yards and 8 touchdowns. The Frogs' defense, though, has stiffened the past 2 weeks, getting gutted on the ground by Baylor. Tanner likes to hear that. Bud Clark has been a menace at safety, and McDonald returned last week from injury after missing 4 games. And then he recorded half a sack and seemed to be in the backfield quite a bit against the Wildcats. Dykes has said all season that the Frogs are a good team. They're finally showing it more consistently.
Well, I think we're improving. I think this is a good football team when we play good. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of been our thing most of the year. And fortunately, down the stretch, we've played better. And what I mean by that is just do the things that you have to do to win. In other words, take care of the ball offensively, create some disruption defensively, whether it's turnovers or negative plays or pressure on the quarterback, whatever that may be. And so I think we've improved in that way. Obviously, we're defending the run better last couple of weeks, which is really, really important, I think, to win in football games. I think our team has gotten better. I really think this group is unique because I do think we have improved, from week 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 and hopefully to week 12. And football teams don't always do that. A lot of times you get to 7 or 8 weeks in the season and they kind of plateau and they just stay where they are. And I think this group continues to get better. And, a lot of that is because of the way that they work. They practice hard. They practice at a high level. They compete. They make each other better. I'm just impressed with the work ethic of the guys and, how important it is for them to play at a high standard, and try to not pay attention to our opponent, just understand that, hey, look, this is our standard. We want to play as well as we can play. And this group has tried to do that every week.
The Arizona win solidified the Frogs' case for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix and the Texas Bowl in Houston, but the Liberty Bowl and the Alamo Bowl are in play. A couple of the projections you can find on the internet have the Frogs going to the Liberty Bowl to play either Arkansas or LSU, which would be fun, but and these things change week to week. But the latest I heard was Guaranteed Rate Bowl or the Texas Bowl. Everybody wants to go to Phoenix. I think that's where the Frogs have so many good memories after the national semifinal win over Michigan a couple years ago on New Year's Eve, and same people run the bowl, so the media definitely wants that. Anyway, we'll see what happens here after the bowl championship or the conference championship games. But the game that has been in the spotlight, I guess, for about a week now is that Fiesta Bowl and the college football playoff that TCU reached in 2022. Former Alabama coach Nick Saban was belly aching to Pat McAfee about TCU getting the nod ahead of a 2-loss Crimson Tide team that year. Saban said, "Oh, Alabama, we would have been 13-point favorites over TCU." And then that idiot McAfee conveniently glossed over the Frogs' win over Michigan when kissing Saban's butt, and then was kind of alluding to what Georgia did to the Frogs in the national title game against that State Farm Field in Phoenix, Glendale, Arizona, if we're being technical. Anyway, here's how Dykes responded to Saban.
Look, we were there. We beat Michigan. We played for a national championship. Everybody can say what they want to say. I don't care. That's the great thing about it is what it is, and it's in history. Wish we'd have played better in that game. But we played as well as we could play for 14 weeks. You know what I mean? And I've never seen a college football team, never coached one, never seen one play as well as we did for 14 straight weeks. And it's a shame we didn't play well for 15. But like I said, love. I don't care what anybody says about it. We were there and he wasn't.
You know what? He was there. He was watching. So tough cookies there, Nick. Elsewhere, the men's tennis team is celebrating another national title. The doubles duo of Louis Maxted and Pedro Vives, they claimed the national championship in doubles over the weekend in Waco. They won the tiebreaker over a Michigan duo, Gavin Young and Benjamin Kate, they routed him in the tiebreaker 10-2 to become the first individual national champions at TCU since 1981. Yes, they were a doubles team, but it's considered an individual title. All right. A little confusing. Anyway, the men's team, the reigning national champs, and the Frogs were the indoor runners-up after winning that title 2 years in a row in 22 and 23. The women's soccer team saw its season end as they bowed out of the NCAA tournament last weekend with a loss to Penn State in Tallahassee, Florida, where Vanderbilt pulled the shocker of all shockers, apparently, and beating the defending national champion Florida State. TCU, though, won the regular season Big 12 title. They finished the year 17-4-2, and yet another nice job by Coach Eric Bell. Men's basketball returns to the hardwood tomorrow. Yes, Thanksgiving Day against Santa Clara in the Acrisure Invitational in Palm Springs, California. TCU will play either Colorado State or Washington on Friday. They haven't played since that kind of yawner of a win last week over Alcorn State, the Mighty Braves, as TCU continues to contend for the SWAC conference title, this non-conference schedule. The women's team, they won on Sunday. They whipped Idaho State to improve to 6-0 and to climb to number 17 in the country. They also play this weekend over the holiday break, Friday against number 3 Notre Dame in the Cayman Islands Classic, and then Saturday against South Florida. The hell am I talking about? Anyway, Notre Dame's is going to be another test. You know, the Frogs already beat NC State, who was in the Final Four last year, beat them at home by 3 points to jump into the top 25. Notre Dame, if you know, is a beast. They're one of the big ones every year. So this is another measuring stick game for Mark Campbell's team. Neutral floor, maybe have an early tournament feel. I'm not sure, but if you didn't see last week's episode, you need to go back and check it out. Was women's coach Mark Campbell was the featured guest. He talked about really all good things going on with women's basketball. Haley Van Lith and Sedona Prince among them. Van Lith had a career high 27 points on Sunday against Idaho State. She even found time to sneak in a Mavericks game. I saw that on the social media. But don't go and look at that video from last week just yet, because this episode is just getting started. Coming up, Ben Rebstock, he's the head cheese here at DLLS and a TCU graduate and a longtime season ticket holder in men's football. I think he's feeling a lot better than the last time he was on the show. Then we'll have Cooper McDonald on at 3. Kind of a cool story coming home he's from Hazlitt Northwest High School, went to Washington, transferred to San Diego State. Now he's at TCU for his last year of college football, playing back home. And then 3:15, our guy Jamie Plunkett will hop on and we'll talk about a lot of stuff, mostly football, a lot of recruiting stuff. The early signing day is coming up next week, and the Frogs are looking pretty shiny there with a high national ranking in recruiting. And we'll see what happens. This class won't be the be all end all. There'll be players who leave the program in the transfer portal, and so then Sonny Dykes is going to have to get some guys who enter from other programs. Anyway, all that is coming up right after this. Nothing says Thanksgiving like NFL football, and nothing says making games more fun like the Sleeper app. Sleeper is known for its fantasy stuff, but they're now into the daily picks, and it's a lot of fun. I've been making picks ever since we first started DLLS now about 3 months ago. 3 months ago in 1 day, 3 days and 1 month ago. That's better grammar. Anyway, Sleeper. It's will somebody have more or less than a certain number? The TCU game on Saturday is not yet posted. The Cowboys game is posted, and if you go there now, you can get CeeDee Lamb for plus or minus a half yard. All he has to do is catch a ball for a yard, and that's going to be one of your winning picks. So go to download the Sleeper app, and when you get there, you can get a $100 match, up to $100 match on the first deposit with the code DLLS Frogs. And here's one we haven't done in a while, maybe ever on this show. I even brought my Roback hat, but we don't have Roback this week. But anyway, we do have Shady Rays, and we appreciate Shady Rays support. Shady Rays, if you don't know, it's sunglasses, not just sunglasses, affordable sunglasses, not just affordable sunglasses, but durable sunglasses. And Shady Rays is so sure of its product and proud of its product that if any pair breaks, or even if you lose a pair, just lose a pair, they're gonna help you out and replace it. So for an affordable cost, plus if you use the code DLS, you get 35% off polarized sunglasses. It's like you're getting sunglasses plus insurance for a low price. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal this season. Head to shadyrays.com, use DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And as promised, taking the hot seat, it's Ben Rebstock, Big Cheese, Boss Man, whatever you want to call him. He's here. But coming up at 3, it's Cooper McDonald, then Jamie Plunkett at 3:15, and then here's Ben. Some fan perspective. He's kind of the fan guy. I'm sure he keeps a pulse on it and checks things out from the stands. Last time he was on, though, it looked pretty lousy, but now you got to be feeling a lot better.
Well, before we get started there, I didn't realize we were working blue today with some of those terms that you were using to describe Pat McAfee earlier. I was harsh idiot. You called him
idiot, yeah.
Something else.
I mean, I can go worse, but I'm trying to keep the FCC happy here.
Just remember what the C in TCU stands for.
Well,
no.
I've got a couple that it stands for.
No, I'm glad you had me on after a win.
Yeah,
first
it's
time.
nice. Yeah,
first time all season.
We usually have you on to cry here, and
we did kind of joke after the SMU game about a 9-3 finish to the season.
Yeah,
I'll take 8-4.
Yeah,
this has been an enjoyable team to watch since that run, and even the Baylor game was exciting. It was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Came down the last second, and I will say we have gone on to win the next week after every time I come on. So
okay, well,
let's hope that keeps going. Let's not have a reverse there, but I'm going to need you to go through these scenarios again for the Big 12 title game, and maybe that's what we break down, because with us kicking off at 9 p.m. Saturday night, we're going to be watching. There's good and bad. We will know our fate before kickoff.
Yeah.
And so we get to watch a lot of good football all day long. And with rivalry weekend going on, there's a lot of scenarios. Like, it sounds daunting, 3 or 4 have to lose, but these are all games that could happen and put us in a scenario.
I mean, you look at the standings and look who's winning each week.
Yeah.
It's been hard to put a finger on. 9 p.m. for God's sake. Oh, 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
I got 6 Eastern.
6 p.m. I had 9. So 6. Sorry about that.
It's 9. It'll be 9 p.m. somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic, I think. I was going to say 10 o'clock start in Cincinnati would be a ball buster.
It wouldn't be crazy, though.
And it'd be cold.
It would be cold.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, yeah, let's go over these scenarios. All right, TCU win. I think we gone over that.
Okay, that's done.
That one is going to happen. Bearcats are licking their wounds right now. Not playing good. Okay, so then the Frogs need. Let me find it. We got Arizona State to lose.
Yep, and it's a rivalry game. I mean, those two teams hate each other. Arizona is not a bad football team. They have NFL talent, caliber talent on that field, and the Arizona State game was so wacky last week. The emotions on that, you see the Kenny Dillingham outburst after the game. What all carries over in there? It was a great win for them last week, but when you're playing your rival, as we saw earlier, as we've seen twice this season, you just throw records out, and so yes, that could happen.
Okay. BYU plays host to Houston.
That one's a tougher one. That one is a tougher one, but BYU is not playing their best football.
Lost 2 in a row
of the season right now. That's for sure. Houston went on the road and only lost by 4 points at Oklahoma. Or that was a long time ago, but they have played well on the road against a team that probably should have. Oklahoma's not had the best year, but talent-wise, those two rosters shouldn't have been in a 4-point game whatsoever.
Well, and Houston won at TCU.
They won at TCU. They did. Oh, I forget that game.
Yeah. That one's a tough one to swallow. All right, then Colorado plays host to Oklahoma State.
So my leaning on this one is outside of the TCU game, Oklahoma State can score.
Yeah.
They can score a lot of points. Colorado's weakest part of that team is their defense.
Sure.
And so what we need on this one is just a wacky, crazy offensive game that maybe comes down to a last-second play or whatever. But Oklahoma does have the offensive firepower to stick around in that one. It will be tough, but maybe Colorado believed their own hype again or whatever. Dion said afterward. Y'all read the headlines and they're reading the headlines again, and they're already complaining about Travis Hunter not being a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award.
Right.
I get where he's going. I get he's protecting his players, but you also might want to be focusing more on securing a berth in a title game as opposed to individual accolades. So you never know with that team, but that will be a tough one. But Oklahoma State can score. We'll see.
Oklahoma State hasn't won a conference game.
They haven't.
This is their last chance.
When's the last time Mike Gundy went winless in conference play?
Probably never.
Probably never. So
we're going back to pre-Barry Sanders on this stuff. It's been a long time.
But why would this be the first year? It shouldn't be.
Yeah. So so that one's doable. Then what's the other one in the scenario? I got to find my notes.
It's the Kansas State, Iowa State.
Kansas State, Iowa State. Obviously, Kansas State can win that game.
Yes.
Iowa State.
That's gonna be a good football game.
Iowa State has been great all year. I know they were undefeated for a long time, but they had some games they could have lost. But yeah, that should be a good one. And who knows what the weather's going to be like? That's always dicey.
The scenario, the toughest part about the scenario is 3 of the 4 have to happen.
Right.
But the matchups are so that 3 of the 4 could happen.
Yeah.
We're not looking at any just major David versus Goliath situations here. These are games that they could happen. So I was a little shocked, honestly, when I after the game going back out to the car. I always like to get in the car and listen to the Sonny Dykes radio interview with Brian Estridge and riding back home. And when Sonny threw out there like we can still clinch a spot in the title game, I'm like, hold on a second, and I'm doing the mental gymnastics in my head, and spent all week trying to break it all down and. I'm just shocked that we're in the spot that we actually could possibly get there, as dark as some of the low moments that we had during this season. So that, I think, it's a testament to the coaching staff, the players, the fight of this team, that even when they got really down, they never got down on themselves. They kept fighting. They kept playing hard. And you saw it this last week. I mean, that was a great performance against Arizona. They really played well.
Yeah. The bye weeks, the 2 open weeks have been huge. I think for TCU, they were able to circle the wagons after basically their defense got shredded on the ground. Those were the Houston and the Baylor games were just not great run defense. And they've gotten better after each one.
They've gotten a lot better. And we discussed that earlier in the year after the losses, that it takes a little while for a new scheme to be implemented. And there were a lot of growing pains, but these last few games, it does seem like things are clicking on the defensive side of the ball. Much better performances, and then you see some of the commitments that we're getting this week. Some JUCO players, some interior defensive linemen. Obviously, the recruiting class coming in is highly touted. So the thought and the idea and the scheme, it does look like it can work. And now, as we said before, we just need the bodies to do it. And we've got some on this squad already, and we're going to have reinforcements coming through. So I'm feeling way better about this squad moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, way better.
Well, I think this is kind of where scenarios where, recruiting at the prep level or recruiting young transfers come into play, because there is going to be turnover. There's no avoiding turnover every year because of seniors, but this year the Frogs had like 30 seniors.
Yes.
And you're going to lose some guys in the transfer portal. So, you're going to have to plug in guys who are new to the system. But so if you have a base of guys that knows, let's say 7 of your 11 guys are not newcomers and they know the system, it just seems like that puts you so much further ahead than when 11 of 11 don't know.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens there. Oh, man. We had a cancellation.
Uh-oh.
Cooper McDonald canceled. man, I had all these questions for him.
Well, I can pretend. So fire away. I was at the games, so I can probably answer for him.
All right. Well, let's see some of my questions for Cooper.
Oh boy. Can we make fun of Baylor for a little bit? Is that on the table?
I mean, we can't really make fun of Baylor because of the score this season.
Yep.
Dang
it.
I was gonna ask him if you're in charge of the menu for Thanksgiving, what are you putting on the menu? So Ben, we're gonna ask you. I know it's gonna be ham.
Oh, you had my ham yesterday, didn't you?
It was good. I had it today too. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I was up at 6 a.m. yesterday getting that started for you guys. So cook it low and slow, and did well with it. But my other go-to is Brussels sprouts.
Did you make those too?
I made those too yesterday. So I've got another batch of those to make tonight for the family Thanksgiving. So ham, Brussels sprouts. I'm not a big turkey guy unless it's deep fried, and I don't trust myself to deep fry a turkey. I like my property too much to keep from burning down. And then I need a good apple pie for dessert. So that's kind of my go-to Thanksgiving. So
apple pie.
I'm an apple pie guy. None of this pumpkin pie, none of that stuff. Pumpkin's not a food. So that's just my opinion on it.
I do like pumpkin pie, but I like apple pie. My wife makes a mean apple pie. Her secret ingredients is orange juice.
Nice.
It's really good. Yeah, it's interesting, and but it's a solid pie. She cuts the apples herself, all that stuff.
Nice.
I thought somebody was bringing buttermilk pie, but I didn't stumble
see
into
that
it
unless I got ate before we all got access to it. Which it could have happened with you being on the Ranger show.
No, I didn't have dessert till after the show. After the show.
I will say with Thanksgiving though, I'll do my business side here for a minute.
Yeah.
We will have our Cowboys pre and post game show around the big Thanksgiving Day game. Along with that, you might want to tune in if you're a fan of DLLS. There might be a little early tip off when it comes to some Black Friday stuff. Along with that, you can go online right now. We have a new college collection.
That's right.
A new college collection, new gear. This goes across all of our cities. So as well, Denver, Phoenix, Chicago, Philly, and colleges in those areas. But we have a new TCU shirt that I have already ordered.
Me too.
I can't wait to get
this
in.
Morning. Yeah.
We have a new SMU shirt in. We have a Baylor shirt. We have Texas Tech. We have North Texas. So we're spreading the wings. There's some great gear. If you've been listening to the show or listening to any of our shows and you're a fan of any of those schools, go to alldlls.com, check it out.
Yeah.
And tune into that Cowboy show tomorrow because you might get some early access to some really cool prices.
Yeah, I didn't and will not get SMU Baylor Tech shirts. UNT maybe.
Yeah.
Because I covered UNT way back when for the Fort Worth newspaper, but I had a great time.
Well, these also make fantastic holiday gifts.
Gifts.
My dad is a graduate of that school over here, 10 minutes from our office. So I did purchase the SMU shirt because it'll make a good Christmas present. But he put 3 of us through TCU, so he's a dual fan. He absolutely cheers on the Frogs, goes to all the games with me. But in those instances where SMU does sneak up, or he'll be dialed into that ACC championship game, which I hats off to them for what they did.
Yeah.
Rival or not, that was pretty amazing what they pulled off, the way they committed to that conference, the money they didn't take,
right,
and just believed in themselves and to do what they did. Pretty darn cool. So maybe in a way I'm kind of cheering for them so we can beat the ACC champion next year in the last matchup.
But it is interesting. They did it with a lot of recruit transfers on defense. So,
in a weak conference too, by the way.
Yeah, awful conference. We'll see how that happens. What comes from that. But yeah, good for them, I guess. Whatever. They're still not getting any money for it. So
no.
And I just think that conference is going to fall apart anyway.
It will.
Yeah. So they'll be out in another sub-tier conference. So. Oh my God,
Jamie.
No, I hung up purposely.
Oh.
He wasn't showing up.
Call again. You weren't sure. All right.
There we
He's got
go,
him.
Jamie.
All right, I got to read some ads here. So, Ben, you can hang around, and Jamie will be on in a minute as we fill in for Cooper McDonald over the last 30 minutes, the last 2 segments of this show, and we'll figure that out next. Well, Ben kind of stole all the thunder on the on this on these ad reads.
We can read this over and over again. There's no stealing thunder there.
All right, so he hasn't gotten there yet. That's right. It's Empire Today time. Empire Today, flooring, carpeting, hardwood experts. They're the ones you want to go to. You don't want to mess around with a big box store where the guy might have just been selling drywall to a contractor, and then he's kind of running over from the plumbing department to try to sell you some hardwoods. You don't need that. You need Empire Today. They're pros. It's all they do is carpet or hardwoods. They've got that virtual floor designer in which you can take a picture of any spot in your house, and you'll figure out, it'll give you a very good representation of what your floors are going to look like in that spot. And they do their own warranties. And I know you're not going to need warranties with this company. But in case you do, at least you know you're getting it from experts. So schedule a free and own estimate today. All listeners can receive up to $350 off when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. And then I think it's game time. There it is. Game time. It's your app now. There's really no need to go anywhere else than Game Time when you're trying to get tickets for anything on the secondary market.
For the Big 12 championship game when
and the
TCU
Big 12 championship game when TCU gets there will be available. John Radigan just used it and saved like $180 or $200 on theater tickets. What happens with Game Time? They have you can see your seat. That's a cool thing. When you're buying secondhand market stuff, you never know what you're going to get. And then they have all-in pricing, so you don't get bamboozled there at the end with some service fees. So check out the Game Time app today. This is what you need to do. Download that bad boy, and then use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. And here comes Jamie. Hello, Jamie.
Jamie.
All right.
What's happening, fellas?
You're into been at the bar for 3 days, growth on your beard. We're glad it's coming back in, though. I've never known you without it.
It was pretty gross over the weekend, so I actually reshaved.
Oh no!
On Sunday evening, and so this is 3 days at the bar for sure. Woke up this morning, thought about shaving it again to look relatively presentable for the family tomorrow. And opted out. It's a comfort day. It's a family day. If they can't accept me like this, when can they ever accept me?
Yeah, I did not. I did shave today. I didn't want to shave tomorrow, so I'm a twice a week shaver. That's how I've become a twice a week shaver. Sundays and Wednesdays.
I like that.
Good days.
Regimen.
I get to freshen up for Monday's shows and then freshen up for Wednesday's show to get me through the end of the week, and that's it. That's all there is.
So I'll take Monday, Thursday. Jamie, what days do you want?
Oh, just whatever's left.
It's fine.
Okay. You don't want to shave on a Friday.
No,
so
waste.
He gets Wednesday. I have Wednesdays. Well, anyway, you get Saturday. Okay, so Jamie, Cooper McDonald, last minute cancellation here. Hope he didn't hurt himself again. What have you seen though from the defense here these last couple weeks?
Well, getting him back was really big. This past week against Arizona, because he does so well off the edge for this defense to keep those interior defensive linemen from taking on too many double teams, getting them free, letting them collapse the pocket, those kinds of things. Plus, getting Marcus Steele back was huge as well as a run stopper, one of those guys that does kind of clog up the middle a little bit. And so I think what we've seen is really over the course of this season, this team start to embrace the Andy Avalos system a little bit more. I think we've started to see them understand it a little bit more. And there was a moment there after the first bye week where Avalos really tried to simplify some of the things that he was giving to this team. And we've seen them improve dramatically over those last 5 games. That's why they're 4-1, is because the defense has made some significant strides. Yes, the offense has gotten better too, but that was always kind of the better side of the football coming into the season. So I like where this defense is. I think they're continuing to improve, but they're going to get a really good test against this Cincinnati team on Saturday that I think is a little bit better than their 5-6 record shows.
Yeah. Every coach does this. They talk about their upcoming opponent like they just won the national title. I don't know. You lose 4 in a row, something isn't right. Have you put your finger on it yet when looking at Cincinnati?
Well, I think they played better teams these last few games, right? Iowa State, Kansas State, Colorado. Those are the teams at the top of the conference right now. They started off with a pretty soft schedule, which helped them get out to that, I think, 5-2 start. So I think playing better opponents makes life more difficult. That's something that TCU hasn't, frankly, experienced a ton of this year. They haven't played a ranked team yet this season. And so I think what we're going to see from this Bearcats team is an offense that has faced really good defenses before, a defense that is stout. Don't get it twisted. This is a really good defensive unit for Cincinnati. And it's going to be an incredible test for TCU. Can you face a good football team, go on the road, win when it's cold? It's supposed to be in the 30s there on Saturday. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
And you need a win because it'll make you look like a genius. 8-4.
Yeah, I did have that as my preseason prediction. I think looking at the schedule, though, I thought it would be a little bit tougher than it's turned out to be. I thought Arizona and Utah were going to be pretty good. I didn't have Oklahoma State going without a win in conference play. And so, looking at the schedule beforehand and seeing some preseason ranked teams on there, yeah, you could see 8-4. Now, in hindsight, you're thinking, man, they really kind of missed an opportunity with that 21-point blown lead against UCF, losing to Houston. You're looking at this thing thinking, gosh, they could really, really be sitting here at like 9-2 right now and controlling their own destiny. But hindsight's 2020. They dropped a couple of those games early that they probably shouldn't have, but now they've got a chance to get to 8 in the regular season and put themselves in position to have a pretty nice bowl game.
Yeah, what bowl are you hearing lately?
Liberty is one that's come up quite a bit more. Alamo Bowl seems like it might be out of reach depending on how the college football playoff shakes out. So Liberty, Guaranteed Rate, or maybe the Texas Bowl down in Houston are the three that I'm hearing the most.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it just a little bit ago, and it hurts even more when you said it there. Those games that we let slip away, it stinks now, especially as you see that there is that path that you could still get to the Big 12 championship game. It might be a long shot. We broke down a little bit what we thought. What do you think going into this weekend? Is there a path to us getting there? 3 of the 4 teams ahead of us have to lose. Can that happen? And if so, what do you think would happen and need to happen for good things to go down for our Frogs?
I thought they got eliminated because of some of the results last week. I thought Iowa State winning knocked them out. But I mean, realistically, you're talking about Colorado having to lose to Oklahoma State at Colorado, right? You're talking about, Arizona having to beat Arizona State. You're talking about Kansas State and Iowa State both playing. And so one of those teams is going to lose for sure. I mean, it's a long shot, right? Crazier things have happened. The 2007 football season taught us to never assume anything because you never know what the hell is going to happen. But I think at this point, it's safe for TCU fans to just focus on Cincinnati, enjoy that football game. If crazy stuff happens, crazy stuff happens. I wouldn't be reserving tickets for Arlington until after I know all of the results on Saturday. But look, I think after 3-3, just sitting here with the opportunity to go 8-4, I think TCU fans should embrace that. I think TCU fans should be happy with that. Not necessarily because of all the extracurricular stuff or the context of it all, but just sitting here with the potential to be 8-4 after you were 3-3 going into your first bye week, I think is a signal that things are going in the right direction. And now 2025, hey, let's see if we can't get back there.
I think they're legit going to have college courses in the future about tiebreakers for these large conferences. I know the SEC, it was hours after the games completed last week that they finally confirmed, like they all had to sit back and just do the math over and over, like, oh, yep, Georgia's in. And now it's A&M. Like, even nobody really knows what all these tiebreakers go down. It's insane right now with the expanded conferences and the way it's broken down, especially when there's no conference divisions or anything like that going on. It's nuts. Divisions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Big Ten took like 3 days to figure out that Oregon was in.
That was the other one
a couple of weeks ago. And so, divisions may still be a little too clunky with how big these things are getting, but I think pods would be a reasonable compromise. Have 4 teams in each pod. I know the Big Ten's got 17 right now, so that would be a little awkward. But for the Big 12 and the SEC, go to 4-team pods, play your pod every year, play another pod every year, and then sprinkle in some other games, and just make some structure. give some structure that allows for legitimate tiebreakers that people can track, so you don't have to get the world's best physicists and economists in here to spend 50 hours to try and figure out who the heck's going to be in your conference championship game. The reality is, we should probably see a playoff expansion in the next couple of years that just includes conference championship games. Yeah. I think that's maybe the reasonable next step in all of this, is to say, if we're just going to go to 16, make every Power 4 conference championship game a first round game, and then the 2 or 3, G5 conference games, those can be, if in any given year, if Army and Navy are both good, make that one of the first round playoff games. Just figure out some way to incorporate the end of the conference season into the playoff season. And maybe it'll be a little bit of a smoother transition. And maybe we'll be able to ignore the Tuesday night, just whatever fest, where it's talking about, hey, how can we get 4-loss Alabama into the college football playoffs every Tuesday night on ESPN? Like, maybe we just can go without that. Maybe we can go without Nick Saban still continuing to doo-doo on 2022 TCU every chance he gets put in front of a microphone. I don't know what Sonny Dykes did to that guy. Well, I do know what Sonny Dykes did to that guy. He kept him out of the playoffs, but
and beat Michigan.
Yeah, the only team to do that. Yeah, Nick, you had a chance, buddy. You had a chance in 2023, and if only you had a center who knew how to snap the ball that year, you might have won.
That'll get easier when they go to 16, like you said, and even easier when they go 32 and then to 64, right?
64. Let's do it.
Screw it. Week 1, week 0 in August, first round of the college football playoffs. Let's go.
As long as the money's right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Jack Besh has 1,000 yards. He's a Blitnikoff semifinalist. Josh Hoover, 6th in the country in passing. But is Savion Williams the offensive MVP?
I think he's got to be, right? Yes. I think so. We were having this conversation in the press box the other day. It was me, Jeremy Clark, Stephen Johnson, Melissa Treewasser. What's TCU's record if Savion is running the Wildcat starting in week 1?
Yep.
Because I think they beat Houston and UCF. Obviously, they were already running it during the Baylor game, so you kind of just chalk up that result as is. Not sure if they finally get past SMU or not, but you can reasonably argue that TCU has 2 more wins on their ledger at this point if they're doing that from the beginning of the year. So I do think he's the offensive MVP. The fact that he's such a big body back there, averaging 7 yards a carry now since the Utah game. Props to Kendall Briles and Sonny Dykes for figuring out a solution to make the running game viable again and open some things up for their actual running backs. But yeah, I think it's Savion. He's the most dynamic player that they have, even though, I think Besh is going to have a nice career beyond TCU. It's Savion Williams. He's the MVP.
Yeah. Sonny called him Deebo Samuel a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's high praise, but you just look at him run the ball. It's like he is possessed.
Yes, he's angry, right? He runs like he hates the ground, and he runs like he hates you. Like you don't want to get in front of that. He's 6'3", 230 pounds, and he's moving at a 4.4 40s. I wouldn't want to try and tackle him.
The Deebo comparison is good because as you're sitting in the stands watching it, he stands out. He's like, that's a guy that you're going to be seeing playing football for many more years. This isn't the end of his football career by any means. Like he's just taking it another level. And I think there's a lot of credit that needs to go to Savion also for adjusting his role on the team midseason when they needed it. And for, you see receivers out there that don't always like to do that. That it's a position where it can be a bit diva-ish. And for him to take on that role and do what's needed for this team to win says a lot about his character as well.
I think
it truly does. Any chance you get to talk to Savion too, you catch on pretty quickly just the kind of person he is. I mean, he's already a dad, right? He's married with a kid. He's at the gym. He's at class. He's at home taking care of his daughter. Those are his priorities. He's a kind person. He's really friendly. Seems to have taken on the personality of his head coach in a way, just really authentic. And he's beloved by his teammates. He Sonny said in his midweek yesterday that, it's always about the team and never about him with Savion Williams. And I think that reflects in his willingness to be a running back and just the results we're seeing on the field at this point.
Yep. All right, Jamie, hang around. We got to sell some stuff. And now we get to sell our stuff. If you haven't become a diehard I don't know what you're waiting for. I tell you what, you should be waiting for though. Black Friday.
There's a pretty good deal
or
going
Cyber
on right
Monday.
Too. If you want to go
right
on
now,
there now, so,
yeah, it's 30% off.
It's 30% off.
So
right
that's
now.
$24 off of $79.99, and you get a free shirt for $35. So if you add those two up, you're getting a membership for not much, $21, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly, and I probably am not. $20. So anyway, here's how you do it. You go to alldls.com/join-diehard. You get 20% off all of the cool stuff we're going to start doing here in the next calendar year. There's the free shirt from any sport we cover. You're not just relegated to TCU.
Basketball team that plays right down the street.
That's right.
Here.
That's right. I have, as of today, I purchased the missing Ranger shirt. So I have 5 Ranger shirts, 2 TCU shirts, and a hoodie.
It's become your personality.
It really has been. Yeah, I've been morphed by my paycheck. But anyway, so do that. Become a diehard today. And again, once you do become a diehard, you got to go to store.allcitynetwork.com to pick out your shirt. And like Ben alluded to in the his first segment, there's 4 other markets we're in: Denver, Phoenix, Philly, Chicago. You can get stuff for any of your fam and peeps that live there. It's coming up on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, so we're going to have some sweet deals. If you follow me on the Twitter or any of us at DLLS folk, you will see what those are. And you'll have to stop by and do it. But they're like super nice, super comfortable shirts.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
I can't wait for the hoodie. It's 81 today, but it was in the 60s the last 2 days. So
special hoodie collection just dropped as well.
Oh, shoot.
There's a new Cowboys hoodie for any of our Cowboy fans watching. So check those out. They're sharp, really good looking. Kind of like throwback 90s looking design. Really cool.
There you go. All right, Jamie's back.
He shaved.
He shaved again.
I did. Ran to the bathroom while we were doing this.
All right, Jamie.
It is your day.
I gave you fair warning that I was going to ask you questions about recruiting. The early signing period is what, Wednesday?
December 4th.
December 4th. That's Wednesday. Yeah, that's Wednesday.
Yep.
I don't care for the 2 signing days, quite frankly, but it is what it is. The Frogs are looking pretty good right now.
They are, by our metrics over here at 24/7, they're the number 22 class in the country for this recruiting cycle. They've added, I think, 4 recruits in the month of November already, including 2 defensive linemen in the last 3 days. A pretty nice little recruiting class. I'll tell you one kid that I'm really excited about, and that's a kid who I think is going to tell people that he's enrolling later this afternoon. So for the folks that are watching this, you didn't hear it from me. But that's Terry Shelton, a kid who flipped from Arizona last week. Terry, back it up, Terry. Terry Shelton.
It's Thanksgiving, not 4th of July.
Yes, top 75 recruit in the country for 2025, the number 12 wide receiver in the country. He is kind of that prototypical 6'3", 210, fast as hell receiver that Malcolm Kelly likes to go out and get and then bring in and do wonders with when he gets on campus at TCU. So I'm very excited about Terry Shelton. Also very excited about Chad Woodfork, defensive end, who is, Texas Tech's been trying to hit up his cell phone for the last 6 months or so, and he just keeps hanging up on him. He's another early enrollee that's going to be in here soon. But I think what we're seeing to kind of cap all of this is the recruiting for TCU is starting to shift. We've seen Sonny Dykes the last few years have smaller high school classes that are pretty highly rated and then hit the portal really hard for veteran gap-filling talent. This year, though, because of the level of high school talent that they've accrued over the last couple seasons, I think we're going to see them go a little bit lighter in the portal, especially in the trenches. They've got 6 defensive linemen in this high school class and 4 offensive linemen. That brings them to, I think, 24 and 27 offensive and defensive linemen, respectively, on the roster that they've gotten out of the high school ranks the last 3 years. So you've got now a ton of talent that you've got it from the high school level. You've developed them, and now you can kind of pick and choose, use your money wisely in the transfer portal, maybe for a left tackle, maybe for one more defensive tackle, a wide receiver that's got veteran talent, and really kind of pick and choose. So I love this high school class. I think they're incredibly talented. I think they're addressing positions of need, and I think we're going to be really excited with what these guys do when they get on campus.
Yeah, you mentioned the offensive lineman, and there's uh, I don't know, body type, a mold that they're looking for. They want these giant, tall offensive linemen. These guys are, I think the shortest one I've seen so far is 6'5".
Yeah.
They want a length. They want lengthy linemen, length of arms and stuff like that. So they're following through there. And then the defensive line, I think we saw some of the additions that TCU made maybe in Sonny's first couple of years just missed. They turned out to not be as good as needed, maybe. And you saw with Marcus Deal coming in, the high school recruit, who really helped change the run defense just because of his size.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you define as a miss, and it depends on how kind of what the expectation was for those players coming in, right? I think for a guy like Caleb Fox, for instance, an SFA transfer, he was never going to be asked to be kind of your all-star edge rusher, your guy who takes on a triple team in the middle, but he has been a consistent depth piece for this team. Same with Tymon Mitchell, the Georgia transfer. You've got guys like Devin Deal in the portal, who I think he's had a really successful first year at TCU. Cooper McDonald was having a lot of success before he got hurt, and has had some since he got back. Josh Newton was a defensive transfer. Johnny Hodges was a defensive transfer. I think they've had pretty good success. Ilana Lee coming over with them from SMU on that offensive line has been a pretty successful guy, or was a successful guy in 2022. Jack Besh is a transfer, right? JP Richardson is a transfer. They've had plenty of success, I think, in the portal. I don't think the hit rate's ever going to be 100%, but the coaching staff has done a pretty good job evaluating portal needs and going out and getting the guys that fit the program.
Yeah, I guess I was looking more at the interior D lineman, but yeah, I mean, you can't argue with Josh Newton, who's what, a 4th-round pick, and Jack Besh, who's Blitnikoff semifinalist, and these are good, solid guys. And again, it's about building depth too. You got to have depth, because if you go through injuries, you're up the creek. Wide receiver, though, our man Terry. I was watching the Duke Kansas game last night, and that little tournament they have in Las Vegas is Terry's Candies, whatever. So that made me chuckle. That was a great game.
It was a really good There's been a lot of good basketball early on this year.
Yeah, and you look at the Big 12. Colorado went and beat UConn yesterday. Kansas hung on, and even after their big guy kicked the Duke guy in the face.
You're allowed to do that?
I know Bill Self went crazy because you got to defend your player, but I mean, that was obvious.
It was very obvious.
There's no way he didn't kick him in the face with intent. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about, but Kansas is deep. They brought in another guy who can run and jump and do all this stuff. So that was a fun game, and it was a blown opportunity by Duke. You have the best player in the country, give him the damn ball in your last possession instead of a guy who turned it over 8 times or whatever and hadn't hit a 3. So anyway, but that was, I guess I'm on a rant, but back,
it's all we have to rant about because it's been a week since ours.
Between Terry and all the Hunter Dickinson and everything. But Iowa State is playing in Maui. They played a tough game last night. You're just kind of looking at the schedule and the Big 12 conference, and you're like, my God, TCU gonna win a league game, and they are. But my gosh,
we'll see. If Ernest Uday gets healthy, I feel a lot better about it. Looking at the scores right now, West Virginia's giving Gonzaga everything they've got right now. In the second half with a minute left, they're only down by 1. Iowa State is currently beating Colorado by 30. So
Yikes.
Who knows what Iowa State's going to be this year. But yeah, no, TCU plays in the Acrisure Invitational starting tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. They play Santa Clara at 3:00 on True TV, and then they'll play either Washington or Colorado State on Friday. 2 nice little games before they have what I think is a pretty fun pair of games coming up in the next week. You've got, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more next week, but you've got Xavier coming to town on Thursday for a really fun basketball game, and then you play Vanderbilt over at Dickey's on December 8th as a part of 3 games there that day. And I think Jamie Dixon's gotten a lot of criticism in the past for his non-conference schedules. I think he adjusted a little bit this year with going to Michigan. That was the earliest road game they've had since 1998. True road game. You've got Xavier and Vanderbilt on the schedule. He's making some tweaks. I think people should acknowledge that he's heard the criticism and he's adjusting a little bit now. With 20 conference games instead of 18 this year, how much do you really want to adjust your non-conference before you get into the meat of things? But we'll see. This is such a deep league. Everybody can beat everybody. How TCU basketball does, with 8 sophomores and younger on the roster, I'm not sure. But I like the talent. I like the scheme. We'll see if people can stay healthy and just roll the dice from there, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun 4-game stretch here. We'll learn a lot about this team over the next week and a half or so, and it's gonna be fun watching them on Thanksgiving.
A little Thanksgiving entertainment break from the football.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I speaking of Colorado, I was looking up Eddie Lampkin, and I missed that Eddie had transferred to Syracuse.
Yeah.
That one was a shame. But anyway, he'd be a nice piece to still have, in the middle, if nothing else, than to just clog some space and.
Jamie's biting his tongue over there.
And miss some free throws. So it's too bad. It's too bad he went crazy.
Well, yeah, you can only get away with so much before it's time to find a new change of scenery.
Yeah.
On the court, though, like during those games, he's a fun player to watch. The outside stuff, this and that, but there's just no denying, like, whistle to whistle on that court, baseline to baseline, he's a fun guy to watch play basketball.
Yeah, he would have been really fun to watch against Gonzaga in the tournament last year.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you were at the women's games. They've got Notre Dame. Can they beat? I mean, I think they can beat them. I think the neutral floor, it's kind of going to give it like a tournament feel.
I think it will. I mean, Notre Dame who'd they knock off this week? Was that USC that they throttled a little bit by like 13 or 14 points? And, but hey, this TCU team already has a win under their belt against NC State. They've got, Sedona Prince, Haley Van Lith, Madison Connor, the list goes on with this roster. And they go into games like this expecting to win. And that's something that I don't think we've had it for TCU women's basketball in quite some time. So I'm looking forward to that one on Friday. Looking forward to the South Carolina game in a couple Sundays as well, just as benchmarks, right? To see how good this program really is. And again, this is another Big 12 league that's maybe not as deep as the men's side, but still has some really good top end programs that you're going to face. Baylor, Kansas State, Iowa State, West Virginia. And these are good benchmark games for Mark Campbell and his squad early, just to say, this is where we are. This is what we need to improve on. And also, frankly, just to put TCU back on the map when it comes to women's hoops.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So Thanksgiving tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Are you in charge of the menu, or is it, or you are? What are we having?
So I'm smoking a turkey. I'm starting it's been brining since like 8 a.m. It will brine until about midnight, and then I will fire up the smoker, charcoal grill smoking, not a pellet smoker because I'm a purist. But I will smoke. I will smoke the turkey overnight, tending to it occasionally, and then we've got some mac and cheese. We've got mashed potatoes. We've got green bean casserole. We've got some various gravies, homemade cranberry sauce because that's the important and the better version of cranberry sauce, frankly. And then, some pies and various desserts as well. And we'll go over to my dad's house on Thursday afternoon and have ourselves a good meal.
Oh man. So you're taking food to them, huh?
We're taking food to them. He's doing a ham. So
okay.
He's got his thing that he's doing.
Ben makes a pretty good ham.
There we go.
Pretty good honey baked
All right.
ham.
Love that.
It's pretty good. For the record, since you two have discussed your plans, we are having picanha, the Brazilian cut of steak, mashed potatoes, broccoli, some other stuff. there's another side dish that I can't recall off the top of my head. And then Sister Schubert rolls, which are a favorite among the kids. And then I'm not sure what the wife's cranking out on the dessert, but she needs to snap to it.
Jeff's Thanksgiving sounds way too fancy for me.
Well,
It's
my
very
wife is,
it's bougie.
she's a great cook. She's fantastic. So I mean, whatever she wants to do is fine with me, as long as I don't have to help.
So what time are we coming over? Jamie, what time are we going?
You guys can come over at 7.
That works.
7 p.m.
I'll be there. 7 a.m.
Done.
I'll be there.
The food will be gone, and I'll be anywhere from 4 to 12 drinks in. So we'll be in good shape.
Save us a little bit when we watch the basketball game.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. All right.
Perfect.
All right, Jamie. Until next week. I guess it's next week. It's a big day. We're gonna have a lot of recruiting stuff to talk about. So appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving again. I now have 2 shirts for you the next time I see you. So
Oh my gosh.
He
We're
keeps
gonna be rolling
stealing
in
one
it.
from my office, one
get
after
ready.
every time he walks in.
Get ready. So all right.
Love it.
That was Jamie
All
Plunkett,
right, fellas.
guys. Jamie,
Thank you,
have a
Jamie.
good one. Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right, Ben. Well, we got through it. You know, these guests have been tough to pin down here lately. You know, we had a couple cancellations. We had Sonny Dykes who had to bump till after show. We had to go overtime one day. So, but we've made it through nonetheless. Cooper McDonald, you owe us. Maybe next week. You know,
next week.
but we'll also Brady Johnson, the women's SID, was pretty fired up about getting us Haley Van Liff for next week. So maybe
That'd
we
be
have
awesome.
them both. So
Yep.
we'll see what happens. But anyway, until next week, that's the All Horned Frogs podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Go Frogs.
We all silly like the mayor.